So HawksHaven is a place kind of like Alice in Wonderland. This part's going to zigzag back a little bit because this is a little too steep for most folks to want to be able to navigate. But I've been chiseling pathways into this hillside for a few years now. Not consecutively, not like slave labor. But Labyrinth teaches us that there's ups and downs and back and forths, yeses and nos, highs and lows, about life. In this path, there's only room for one person. There's spots of it that you can walk side by side with a friend or partner in life. Choices come up in life. This might be a choice of when you're 16 years old and your friends say, hey, let's go drink some beer and go drive around. Well, let's take that choice, and it can turn ugly real quick. You know, if you fall off that, you're probably going to break your neck. So we make a different choice. We come back to where we had a choice to make. We say, hey, do I want to maybe we'll choose this path instead. And this path looks a little more well-traveled. Maybe it's a little more predictable. Another choice here. You know, that one looks pretty good. Looks kind of rocky, less traveled. I don't know if it's normal to take that one, so this one looks a little more normal. So I'm going to take this one because I don't want to be made fun of, right? Can't be that weirdo doing things different because then you'd be the weirdo doing things different, right? So we're taking this path and we're like, oh wow, alright, now we're coming up to another choice here. And looks like we have choices in both directions. Looks like a really steep one right there. We're not going to look too far ahead on the labyrinth though while we're doing it, because we need to focus on what we're doing right now, understanding where we want to go. See, now this pathway, I can see that this pathway, it's semi-traveled. You know, it's maintained, and that's the direction I'm wanting to go. So that's going to be my destiny. My destiny is when I achieve my destination that I've set for myself, and I keep taking steps in the direction that I want to go, I have to trust that I'll get there. I'm going to come up to a part, I'm like, gosh, that part looks really tough. It looks like it's the direction I'm going, but it just looks too difficult. Well, this way looks a little easier. Let's go ahead and take this way. Even though it's not in the direction I even want to go anymore, it might be getting me to, a path that is almost seemingly paved. It's trusting that when I stay on my path, I get to where I want to be. And that's having will. That's having the knowing that if you put your mind to something, that you're going to get there. And you're going to find it. You might even come to this pathway that's almost seemingly paved to a dead end. Because there's a lot of people that might go, gosh, that's really cool. And then they turn around and they go back to their car. But I'm not one of those. So let's find our own pathway. We're just going to go down this way. I see that this area hasn't been traveled on much. So I should be careful of snakes, things that are going to maybe prevent me from experiencing what I want to experience. And the ravens, they have a nest up here. They've been holding this ground for 20 years, at least. These are some native bee nests. There's holes drilled in that piece of wood. We come to a guardian. And again, a way of making sure that you won't hurt yourself on the pathway. There's a gatekeeper. This gatekeeper means you need to be able to get low. You need to be able to get low and get back up. So this isn't like Iron Man kind of stuff, but it is necessary to have a certain amount of physical preparation to be able to experience this. Once we come past the difficulties in life, letting go of the expectations of our environment or of others, we start to recognize that other people have taken this path too. It's just that they've come from many different directions. Maybe those are religions, philosophies, beliefs. Sometimes we see some areas that could probably use maintenance. For those that follow behind us. So we're taking what we learn and we're passing it on to others. It's not good to be the only person that thrives, right? Is it fair that you're the only one who gets to find out what life is about? There's a bunch of quail. Whole family. This is the coolest labyrinth I've ever been on. Sometimes you just keep following a pathway until you get to your center. You gotta be very careful where you place which steps you take, because there's loose rocks. Until you're confident with your balance, your ability to move forward is limited. The path can look really rough, but when you just ride the high sides, it's really not too bad. If you're careful with every step, you can find a fairly flat place to place your foot. Like this. I don't know how my image stabilization is going to be here. I'm doing my best to keep this still for you. I'm trying out that one. It's not seemingly right, so I'm going to go with this other one. And that's where we don't work with momentum. Momentum is almost like compulsiveness. It's like pulling the trigger. Ooh, see? That was a big one that didn't fully start to move until most of my weight went on it. In yoga, we teach to move without momentum. Being conscious of the right now moment and how we are moving through that right now moment. Focusing on your breath helps us to focus on that right now moment. Swarupa Warren is just reminded that this video is in parts for you. In spring, I would be standing in the waterfall right now when the snow melts off. You don't make many mistakes when you're walking on this labyrinth. They can be deadly. Just like life, right? Just like life. So if we look at the maze, the labyrinth, as basically what life is for us, we recognize that it's a series of choices. And where we place each of our steps, our choices, our actions, it takes us in a certain direction. And so if we do that, and we do it in a way that we are most conscious, most aware of how we want our life to be, well then, I'm trying to get this out there a little bit. I don't have a selfie stick yet. I know, right? I have everything else. But when we do that way, in a way that we are most conscious of our right now moment, we're going to be building a life that we really desire. And like we've talked on the way up here, that right now moment is really important. Let me see if I can get this down out of the wind and see if we're still going to be able to do this. Okay, let's see how this works. Alright, I think that's going to work pretty good, hopefully. There's a lot of things I want to talk about today, and so I'm going to be checking sometimes, because sometimes I end up talking to a dead camera. So, consciously. If we are consciously aware of our breath, we're consciously aware of our actions with that breath. So our thoughts and our physical being, right? And so if we do that in a way that it builds joy and happiness in our life, well, we're not going to be having to seek that from somebody else. And when we have that level of freedom, we become a bunch of individuals that when we meet somebody that we want to include into our life, it's a very powerful experience. It's not a relationship, it's a good relationship. And you should respect each other. That maybe, because the way life is, everything changes, like a river. The river is always flowing, but sometimes it becomes a lake, and eventually it becomes the ocean, and then it becomes rain, and then it becomes a creek, and then a river, then an ocean. And it's always flowing through life, right? It knows when it's time to change a pathway that it's on, just by what's going on, right? I mean, where is it most needed? There's a lot of things that we've been shaped by a culture that we are living in that don't make sense, and that's what I want to talk about today. And first off, let's check this camera again. Okay, we're still good, but that's battery's flashing red. So that's all for today.